Hello, I'm Lisa Davies, and today I'm going to be making some mini frittatas with you. They're made with lots of good Irish dairy and a great way of getting in a few vegetables. So the ingredients for these are some cheddar, some red peppers and onions, some lovely little cherry tomatoes, a little bit of garlic, some fresh basil, and also eggs being the main ingredient for these. And to make the frittatas nice and fluffy, we actually add some milk. So the first thing we need to do before we assemble them is actually cook the onions and cook the peppers so that they soften a little bit. If we were just to add them to the eggs now and bake them, they would be a little bit, you wouldn't, flavourless. So we really want to get as much flavour out of them as possible. So to start with, I'm just going to melt a little bit of butter in here. And then once that butter has melted, we can then add the onions and the peppers and let them soften, literally for just a few minutes. The great thing about these is you can actually use up old vegetables as well. So if you have leftovers from the day before, maybe some leftover potatoes, some leftover broccoli or carrots, you could always add them, and you don't need to cook them if they've already been cooked. But we want to get a nice bit of flavour, so we're going to saute the onions, just fry them lightly for a few minutes in a bit of butter here. And then this is about 1 onion, so I'm going to be making 12 frittatas. 12 little mini ones. They're great for either an after-school snack or even for lunch boxes as well. And you can make a big batch of them, and you can always freeze them and just, you know, have them for a few different lunches. You can experiment with different flavors as well. You can add other vegetables. You could add courgettes, and you can add different cheeses. But I quite like using the cheddar because it has a nice strong flavor. And we've got so many great cheeses here. So those onions are just starting to soften. I'm just going to add a little sprinkle of salt, and that helps them soften a bit quicker and helps them cook a bit quicker. We're going to add some peppers. I've got a mixture here of red, yellow and green peppers, so they'll be nice and colourful. And you really just want to cook them for as long as it takes for them to soften up, which shouldn't be too long. That way we're just getting a bit more flavour from them before we cook them. And once they have done that, then I'm going to add a little bit of garlic to it, just to give it a bit more flavour. But we don't add the garlic first because we do not want the garlic to burn. So we're getting a nice gentle sizzle there. I don't know if you can hear that. And then I'm just going to make a little hole in the middle there, and we'll just put some of that garlic in there, just so that it cooks and we release some of that flavour. Now, while that's cooking, just a little bit of pepper, and I've already added a bit of salt to that. That's just a little bit of black pepper. You don't have to add it, but it's nice just to give it a little bit of flavour there. I'm going to add a little bit. I've taken the basil and I've chopped the stems up because there's a lot of flavour in those stems. So we're going to pop those in there and just let them cook for another minute. So there we've got softened vegetables, and they're all ready to go in the frittata. So for the actual frittata themselves, we're going to use 8 eggs for 12 of the mini ones. Now you could do this in one big pan, but I really like doing the mini ones. As I say, they're great for lunch boxes and they're great for snacking on. So I've got 6 eggs cracked in here. I'm going to crack a couple of more eggs in. So we need to beat the eggs. You need to beat them enough so that the egg yolk and the egg white are fully combined, and then we're going to add some lovely milk to that. So you want to beat the eggs enough so that they're fully combined, and then we can add the milk. That is about 3 tablespoons of milk, and then just a little pinch of salt just to season the eggs, and a little bit of black pepper as well. So all we need to do now is to assemble the mini frittatas, and I'm going to do that by pouring the egg mixture into the muffin tray, add the vegetables, add some tomatoes, and then finish it with a bit of grated cheddar here. We then want to put them into the oven. So they're going to go into the oven now for about 15 to 20 minutes, depending on how hot your oven goes. And they're going to puff up nicely, and that cheese is going to melt into that eggy, milky mixture. So I'm going to set the timer now for about 15 minutes. They can take up to 20 minutes, but what I want to do is to check on them to make sure they're going a nice golden colour and making sure that that egg is set. Here are the frittatas. I'm just going to put a basil leaf on each one. And there are our quick and easy frittatas, which would be lovely for lunch boxes or for a quick after dinner snack.